Mets beat Braves, 8-5, in Game 2 0 hours 1 minute and 27 seconds. Michael Conforto and Kevin Plawecki each notched 3 hits in the Mets' 8-5 victory over the Atlanta Braves on Monday night. Martino on Syndergaard injury 0 hours 1 minute and 35 seconds. SNY MLB insider Andy Martino chats with Jonas Schwartz about the ligament injury to Noah Syndergaard's right index finger. Andy Martino, SNY.TV, Twitter. At one of his post-game news conferences in April, Mickey Callaway surveyed his roster and said, "We're a really good team," and he was right. The Mets, who opened the season, had a top-heavy rotation, talented bullpen, and veteran lineup that was able to score enough to support the pitching. Many bad losses and injuries later, the Mets are much weaker, but still a playoff contender for 2 reasons: Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard. Most flawed teams with 2 aces can at least push towards playing meaningful games in September. That's why, as with deGrom's recent elbow scare, the news that Syndergaard is headed to the 10-day disabled list with a strained ligament in his right index finger represents a genuinely anxious moment for the 2018 Mets and their fans. Put simply, the team can't lose either pitcher for an extended period. New York Mets Noah Syndergaard, 34, delivers a pitch during the first inning of a baseball game against the Arizona Diamondbacks Sunday, May 20, 2018, in New York. AP photo, Frank Franklin 2, AP. The Mets have placed RHP Noah Syndergaard on the 10-day DL due to a strained ligament in his right index finger. Syndergaard was examined Tuesday at the hospital for special surgery in New York, where an MRI confirmed the diagnosis. His DL stint is retroactive to May 26, meaning he will be eligible to return on June 5. New York Mets starting pitcher P.J. Conlon, 60, is relieved by manager Mickey Callaway, 36, in the third inning of the second game of a baseball doubleheader Monday, May 28, 2018, in Atlanta. AP photo, John Bosmore, AP. The Mets optioned LHP P.J. Conlon to AAA Las Vegas on Tuesday, keeping RHP Gerson Bautista, Monday's 26th man, on the 25-man roster. Conlon, 24, allowed 4 runs on 8 hits while walking none and striking out 1 in 2.0 innings during his start against the Braves on Monday in Atlanta. He made his Major League debut on May 7 against the Reds in Cincinnati, allowing 3 runs in 3.2 innings. The 22-year-old Bautista, who features a high-octane fastball, made his Major League debut in April. He has allowed 2 runs on 3 hits while walking 4 and striking out 2 in 2.1 innings for the Mets this season. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, Noah K. Murray, USA Today Sports. Michelle Ioannou, Mets blog, Twitter. The Mets need to be winning the majority of the games that Jacob deGrom is starting. At the moment, though, the amount of those games that are getting wasted is absurd. The best pitcher in the National League is handing the Mets wins on a silver platter, but they're simply not closing the deal. Death, taxes, and wasting dominant deGrom starts has been the motto lately. deGrom goes out there and always gives it his all. Almost every deGrom performance is dynamite. It's exactly what you want from a starting pitcher. He gets the job done. Fans never have to worry. His teammates never have to worry. But deGrom, he has to worry, because the bullpen lets him down. Or the offense doesn't score enough to support him. May 24, 2018, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. New York Mets left fielder Brandon Nimmo, 9, is greeted by manager Mickey Callaway, 36, after scoring a run in the third inning against the Milwaukee Brewers at Miller Park. Mandatory credit, Benicio. USA Today Sports. Benicio, the Mets have played 51 games. There are still 111 games to go in 2018, yet I feel we've already experienced the highs and lows of an entire season. I'm mentally fried and it's not even summer. This past Memorial Day weekend may have been the most exhausting point of the season, during which the Mets lost 4 of 5 games, gave up 38 runs, wasted a gem by Jacob deGrom, put 2 key players on the DL, added 3 players from AAA and activated Kevin Plawecki. However, despite the drama, despite the injuries, bullpen explosions and walk-off losses, despite going 15-23 since mid-April, somehow the Mets are just 4 games out of first place in the NL East, 3 back of the wild card and still over .500 at 26-25. Cadillac post-game, 5:28, 0 hours 1 minute and 23 seconds. Gary Cohen and Keith Hernandez discuss an outstanding effort from the Mets bullpen after the team's 8-5 win over the Atlanta Braves. Luis Guillermo sliced a 2-run single to left that snapped a 7th-inning tie, and the Mets held on to defeat the Braves, 8-5, to earn a split of Monday's doubleheader at SunTrust Park. For a full box score of the game, click here. Things you should know about tonight's game. 1. After Robert Gsellman allowed the Braves to tie the game in the 6th, the Mets loaded the bases in the 7th and cashed in on Guillermo's second single of the game and 4th hit of the doubleheader. Amed Rosario followed with an RBI single 1 inning after driving in 2 runs with a bases-loaded hit of his own that erased a 4-3 deficit. March 29, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets center fielder Brandon Nimmo, 9, takes a lead off first against the Street. Lose Cardinals during the first inning of the game on opening day at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Gregory J. Fisher, USA Today Sports. Gregory Fisher, check back here throughout the game for Mets in-game highlights. See highlights below. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom shown in the dugout against the Atlanta Braves during the 7th inning at SunTrust Park. Dale Zanine, USA Today Sports. After striking out 8 batters and allowing 1 run in 7 innings on Monday, Mets RHP Jacob deGrom has an ERA of 0.94 in his last 8 outings. However, the Mets have only won 2 of those starts. New York Mets P.J. Conlon throws against the Cincinnati Reds during the first inning at Great American Ballpark. David Cole, USA Today Sports. The Mets, 25-25, look to salvage Game 2 of a doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves, 31-21, on Monday at 7:10 p.m. at SunTrust Park. Mets notes the Mets have lost 4 games in a row, 6 of their last 7, and are .500 for the first time all season. New York is 1-6 against the Braves this season. Last year, the Mets went 12-7 against Atlanta. The Mets are 13-12 away from Citi Field this season and sit 5 games back of the Braves for first place in the NL East. Click here to follow VASNY Game Day Stream. The Mets presented by Verizon. deGrom gets out of a jam, 0 hours 0 minutes and 17 seconds. Mets pitcher Jacob deGrom shoos away Mickey Callaway and gets out of a jam with runners on first and third. Jacob deGrom had kept the Braves scoreless all game long until Tyler Flowers took his first pitch of the 7th inning over the center field wall. And with the Braves just 1 run from tying the game, their next 2 batters found themselves on the corners with no outs, but deGrom was determined to stay in the game, and get out of yet another jam as he has done so well this season. With Dansby Swanson at the plate, deGrom got him to swing at a 3-2 slider out of the zone for the first out. After the out though, Mickey Callaway began to walk out of the dugout, and deGrom looked baffled. However, Callaway quickly went back to his post in the dugout, and let deGrom go to work against Kurt Suzuki. Mets react to narrow loss, 0 hours 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Mickey Callaway, Jacob deGrom and Seth Lugo discuss the Mets' loss to the Braves in Game 1 of Monday's doubleheader. After Devin Mesoraco had given the Mets the lead in the top of the ninth with a solo homer, Seth Lugo surrendered a two-run blast to Charlie Culberson in the bottom of the inning to lift the Braves over the Mets, 4-3, in the opener of Monday's doubleheader at SunTrust Park. For a full box score of the game, click here. Things you should know about today's game. 1. Seth Lugo allowed consecutive singles to Ozzie Albies and Freddie Freeman and a sacrifice fly to Nick Markakis that tied the game in the 8th 2-2, which snapped his scoreless streak at 17 innings. Remained in the game during the 9th and issued a leadoff walk to Johan Camargo before retiring Dansby Swanson on a flyout. Culberson followed with his first home run of the season off Lugo, 1-1. May 28, 2018, Atlanta, Georgia, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, 48 pitches against the Atlanta Braves during the second inning at SunTrust Park. Mandatory credit, Dale Zanin. USA Today Sports. Dale Zanin, even Mother Nature can't beat Jacob deGrom the way he has been pitching this season. The Mets ace took the mound allowing just one earned run in his last 33.1 innings pitched, and he kept that streak going from the start of this game. The first inning saw two base runners on, but deGrom got Nick Markakis to ground into a 4-6-3 double play. After a 1-2-3 second inning, deGrom began the third with a flyout from Dansby Swanson. However, the skies opened up a little, halting the game for a quick moment. It would subside just a couple minutes later, and deGrom finished the final two batters of the inning to keep the game at 1-0. Mandatory credit, Benicio. Check back here throughout the game for Mets in-game highlights. See highlights below. Callaway on series with Braves. 0 hours 1 minute and 34 seconds. Mickey Callaway discusses the importance of this 4-game series with the Braves and Jacob deGrom's potential pitch count. The Mets, 25-24, take their road trip to Atlanta to face the Braves, 30-21, starting with a Memorial Day doubleheader on Monday at 1:10 p.m. On SNY. Mets notes. With Saturday's loss, the Mets have dropped 4 of their last 5 games. Mets are 1-2 on their current road trip and 13-10 on the road this season. The Mets are 5-5 in their last 10 games, and have gone 14-22 since starting the season 11-1. Click here to follow via SNY Game Day Stream. The Mets presented by Verizon. Mandatory credit, Adam Hunger. Mets INF Wilmer Flores has hit the 10-day DL with a sore lower back, the team announced Monday. Flores has to leave Sunday's game after feeling lower back soreness, and manager Mickey Callaway said that he had been battling that injury last week as well. He traveled back to New York to have his back examined. Flores has been playing third recently with Todd Frazier on the DL himself with a hamstring injury. Luis Guilherme, who replaced Flores at third on Sunday, could be the next best option with Jose Reyes on the bench as well. Phillip Evans has also been recalled to take Flores' spot on the roster. Mandatory credit, Eric Hardline. Mets RHPAJ Ramos has been placed on the 10-day DL, retroactive May 27 with a right shoulder strain, the team announced Monday. Ramos went to New York to undergo an MRI on his shoulder after feeling tightness in his appearance Saturday. It turns out there was a problem with the shoulder, and he will need some rest to get it right again. The righty has struggled on the mound so far this season, with his latest outings in Milwaukee as prime examples. On Friday, he faced 2 batters and walked both, with the winning run coming across on the final walk. Saturday was worse as he allowed 3 runs in less than an inning. April 11, 2018, Miami, Florida, USA. New York Mets catcher Kevin Plawecki, 26, celebrates with teammates after scoring a run against the Miami Marlins in the 8th inning during a MLB game at Marlins Park. Mandatory credit. Steve Mitchell. USA Today Sports. Steve Mitchell. After a slew of injuries, the Mets have recalled C. Kevin Plawecki, RHP Hansel Robles, and Ianna Phillip Evans ahead of their doubleheader against the Braves on Monday. Plawecki, who has been out since April 11, returns to the Mets after rehabbing the hairline fracture in his right hand. He sustained the injury after getting hit during an at-bat. He recently caught 9 innings for AAA Las Vegas on Saturday, and belted a 2-run homer on Wednesday night. Tomas Nido was sent down to make room for Plawecki. Wheeler's 2-run RBI 0 hours 0 minutes and 14 seconds. Mets pitcher Zach Wheeler smacks a ball to deep right field, driving in 2 runs in the top of the first inning against the Brewers. Mets RHP Zach Wheeler allowed 4 runs, 6 hits and 2 walks in 6 innings in a no-decision Sunday against the Milwaukee Brewers at Miller Park, settling down after giving up a 3-run home run in the 3rd inning. Wheeler remained winless since April 29 after New York's bullpen blew a 6-4 lead but threw 6 complete innings for the 4th time in his last 5 outings. He went 0-3 with a 6.43 ERA in 5 starts in May, as the Mets have lost all 5 outings. Since his last win April 29, Wheeler is 0-3 with a 6.43 ERA. And since April 24, he is 1-3 with a 6.32 ERA. And since their 11-1 start, the Mets have gone 14-23. In May, they've lost 15 of 22 games. Peter Alonso launches a homer 0 hours 0 minutes and 25 seconds. Mets first base prospect Peter Alonso launches a huge home run for the Double-A Binghamton Rumble Ponies on Friday night. Considered a breakout prospect in the Mets organization, first baseman Peter Alonso shared some advice he received from Hall of Famer Mike Piazza. One thing that kind of stuck with me that he said is, once you get up there, it's going to be hard because you're playing against guys that you've been watching forever, since you were a kid, or even some other young superstars in the game you've seen on TV and stuff like that, Alonso recalled. But the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that once you believe that you can compete, and once you feel like you belong, that's when you're really going to become successful. Mets on 8-7 loss to Brewers 0 hours 1 minute and 17 seconds. Mickey Callaway and Jerry Blevins talk about the Mets' disappointing 8-7 loss to the Brewers on Sunday afternoon. The Mets bullpen blew a 6-4 lead by allowing 4 runs in the 7th inning in Sunday's 8-7 loss to the Milwaukee Brewers. Relievers Robert Gsellman, Jerry Blevins and Paul Sewald surrendered 4 runs, 4 hits and a walk in 1 inning after Zach Wheeler settled down after a 3-run 3rd inning. Gsellman retired 2 of the first 3 batters he faced before giving up a 2-out walk to Jesus Aguilar. Manager Mickey Callaway opted to bring in Blevins, who had not given up a run in his last 11 appearances entering Sunday, to face Travis Shaw. A lefty specialist, left-handed hitters were 7 for 26 off Blevins entering Sunday. By contrast, right-handed hitters were 1 for 10. Mets fall to Brewers 0 hours 1 minute and 10 seconds. Mets offense does its job, but the bullpen does not. An 8-7 loss to Brewers on Sunday afternoon at Miller Park. Mets offense does its job, but the bullpen does not. An 8-7 loss to Brewers on Sunday afternoon at Miller Park. Cadillac post-game extra 0 hours 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Gary Cohen and Ron Darling discuss the ineffectiveness of reliever Jerry Blevins so far this season for the New York Mets. The Brewers erased multiple run deficits for the 2nd straight day and scored 4 times with 2 outs in the 7th to rally past the Mets, 8-7, on Sunday afternoon at Miller Park. For a full box score of the game, click here. Things you should know about today's game. 1. The Mets took a 6-4 lead into the 7th and had 2 outs with a runner on first when the inning unraveled. Robert Gsellman walked Jesus Aguilar on a close, 3-1, pitch to put runners at first and second. Jerry Blevin's struggles continued when he surrendered an RBI single on a 1-2 offering to Travis Shaw that cut the lead to 1 run. Domingo Santana and Jonathan Villar contributed consecutive doubles to put Milwaukee ahead, 8-6. May 27, 2018, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. New York Mets right fielder Jay Bruce, 19, drives in a run with a base hit in the 5th inning during the game against the Milwaukee Brewers at Miller Park. Mandatory credit, Benicio. USA Today Sports. Benicio, check back here throughout the game for Mets in-game highlights. See highlights below. May 24, 2018, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. New York Mets third baseman Wilmer Flores, 4, drives in a run with a sacrifice fly in the 3rd inning against the Milwaukee Brewers at Miller Park. Mandatory credit, Benicio. USA Today Sports. Benicio, Mets INF. Wilmer Flores left Sunday's game against the Brewers with lower back soreness. May 4, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets third baseman Todd Frazier, 21, hit a 2-run home run in the 8th inning against the Colorado Rockies at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Wendell Cruz. USA Today Sports. Wendell Cruz, Mets 3B. Todd Frazier, hamstring strain, will begin a rehab assignment with AAA Las Vegas within the next few days, the Mets announced on Sunday. Frazier, who has been on the disabled list since May 8, took batting practice Monday for the first time since the injury. He hit again on Wednesday and ran on the field on Thursday. Frazier had played through the hamstring injury for several weeks before he was placed on the DL. He was hitting .313 on April 16, but was hitting .167, .192, .292 in 6 games in May. Callaway, Vargas on blowout loss. 0 hours 0 minutes and 45 seconds. Mickey Callaway and Jason Vargas discussed the Mets' 17-6 loss to the Brewers on Saturday evening. The Mets haven't decided if LHP Jason Vargas will make his next scheduled start, assistant GM John Ricco said prior to Sunday's game. "We are continuing to talk about a lot of different options," Ricco said. "I don't think any decisions have been made yet. Unless Vargas has an injury, the options are either sending him to the bullpen, sending him to the minors, which he has the right to refuse, or skipping his next rotation turn." Vargas is scheduled to next start on May 31 against the Cubs at Citi Field. March 29, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets catcher Kevin Plawecki, 26, walks to the dugout at the end of the top of the 2nd inning of the game against the Street. Louis Cardinals on opening day at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Gregory J. Fisher. USA Today Sports. Gregory Fisher, Mets see Kevin Plawecki, RHP Jerson Bautista, and RHP Hansel Robles will join the Mets in Atlanta for potential activation. Plawecki, who has been sidelined since April 11, has been playing in rehab games as he works his way back from a hairline fracture in his left hand. He caught 9 innings for AAA Las Vegas on Saturday and hit a 2-run homer on Wednesday night. His grip strength improved earlier in the month and he started hitting shortly thereafter. May 25, 2018, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. New York Mets pitcher A.J. Ramos, 44, reacts after walking Milwaukee Brewers third baseman Travis Shaw, not pictured, with the bases loaded to force an THW winning run in the 10th inning at Miller Park. Mandatory credit, Benicio. USA Today Sports. Benicio, Mets RHP A.J. Ramos will return to New York to undergo an MRI after feeling tightness in his shoulder after his outing on Saturday. February 14, 2018, Port St. Lucie, FL, USA. New York Mets relief pitcher Anthony Swarzak, 38, warms up during a workout at First Data Field. Mandatory credit, Jason Van Love. USA Today Sports. Jason Van Love. Mets RH reliever Anthony Swarzak, left oblique strain, will begin playing in rehab games this week, the Mets announced. Swarzak, who cannot return until May 31 at the earliest, threw a bullpen in St. Lucie on Tuesday. Mets manager Mickey Callaway said last week that the team views Swarzak as a pitcher who will be used in a variety of spots upon his return, including high-pressure situations. May 7, 2018, Cincinnati, Ohio, USA, New York Mets. P.J. Conlon throws against the Cincinnati Reds during the first inning at Great American Ballpark. Mandatory credit, David Cole. USA Today Sports. David Cole. The Mets have recalled P.J. Conlon and optioned RHP Chris Flexen to AAA Las Vegas. Flexen's demotion came just one day after he allowed 7 runs, 3 earned, on 8 hits and 3 walks in his season debut for the Mets. Last year, he went 3-6 with a 7.88 ERA in 14 games for the Mets, including 9 starts. Conlon, who made his major league debut earlier this season for the Mets, last pitched on May 22 when he allowed 5 runs, including 2 home runs, on 6 hits and a season-low 3 innings for AAA Las Vegas. Conlon allowed 3 runs on 4 hits in 3.2 innings on May 7 in his only major league start this season for the Mets. May 24, 2018, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA, New York Mets left fielder Brandon Nimmo, 9, is greeted by manager Mickey Callaway, 36, after scoring a run in the 3rd inning against the Milwaukee Brewers at Miller Park. Mandatory credit, Benicio. USA Today Sports. Benicio. The Mets, 25-23, will conclude their 4-game series against the Brewers, 33-20, on Sunday afternoon at Miller Park in Milwaukee at 2:10 on WPIX. Mets notes. With Saturday's loss, the Mets have dropped 4 of their last 5 games. The Mets are 1-2 on their current road trip and 13-10 on the road this season. The Mets are 5-5 in their last 10 games, and have gone 14-22 since starting the season 11-1. Click here to follow VASNY Game Day with Keith Hernandez. 0 hours 3 minutes and 49 seconds. Keith Hernandez and his cat, Haji, show you how they get ready for another day of work. Click below to watch episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Game Day with Keith Hernandez. May 24, 2018, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA, New York Mets second baseman Asdrubal Cabrera, 13, hits a double to drive in 2 runs in the 5th inning during the game against the Milwaukee Brewers at Miller Park. Mandatory credit, Benicio. USA Today Sports. Benicio. Mets manager Mickey Callaway said INF Asdrubal Cabrera is slated to play on Sunday after he tweaked one of his knees during the Mets' loss to the Brewers on Saturday. Mets fall to Brewers. 0 hours 1 minute and 17 seconds. Brandon Nimmo, Michael Conforto and Jose Reyes provide some offense, but Mets still come up short and lost to Brewers. Cadillac post-game extra, 5:26, 0 hours 1 minute and 46 seconds. Gary Cohen and Ron Darling discuss another poor outing by Jason Vargas and the state of the Mets pitching staff. The Mets jumped out to a quick start on offense, but the Brewers quickly responded and ultimately overwhelmed Jason Vargas and the Mets bullpen in a 17-6 lopsided loss on